The second season of Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun takes viewers back to the netherworld, the vibrant domain of demons of all kinds and shapes. As shown in Season 1, our protagonist, Iruma Suzuki, is a dense but kind-hearted human disguised as a demon, Lord Sullivan's foster grandson, and he finds himself in more exciting shenanigans than ever in Season 2. His studies at the Babel's Demon School continue, and new friends and enemies emerge, bringing with them new challenges. Iruma resumes his normal routine at school. One day, when he goes to lunch, the creature that had previously come from his ring reappears, but to their shock, he can now speak, revealing himself to be the incarnation of the gluttonous feeder ring. After reprimanding Iruma for his crappy use of magical powers, the creature asks him to perform transformation magic to help it acquire a proper look. The spells fail and he becomes a skinny little one-eyed creature in a suit for which Iruma gets an earful. He asks Iruma to call him Alacrid, also instructing him to try different things with his transformation powers, which eventually leads to him transforming into different outfits with more creativity and originality. Meanwhile, in the middle of the transformation experiments, Amory, the student council president, unexpectedly encounters him in a questionable outfit and is utterly embarrassed and puzzled by the sight of him in a dress. She runs away before he is able to explain himself. He desperately wants to clear up the confusion, but Alacrid is unwilling to expose his identity just for the sake of clarification. He demands that he first wants to know that there are other individuals like him. Iruma subsequently contacts his grandfather about the ring and how it communicates, believing that his grandfather may have deeper knowledge. Sullivan, on the other hand, says that rings cannot communicate and that his ring is only a magic storage device. After heavy research of the past and all the time that Alacrid was unconscious, Iruma learns that the higher his rank, the more Alacrid evolves. Therefore, he sets a new objective of continuing to rise through the ranks in order to uncover Alacrid's real story, whatever it takes. Meanwhile, Amory spends 3 nights in a row having terrible nightmares about Iruma cross-dressing. She notices how distracted she has been lately, causing a misunderstanding with her father and exaggerating things in the student council. This leads her to consider Iruma as more than just a schoolmate or a human who translates her comics. Eventually, she resolves to discuss matters with him. Meanwhile, Krosel makes Iruma wear her outfit for a picture shoot since her fans want to know who the idol was at her show. As a result of very bad timing, Amory sees Iruma on top of Krosel during the scuffle, which leads to yet another misunderstanding. She leads him to the student council room and informs him that his battler group must be suspended for the time being due to a lack of sufficient members to complete the standards. Not surprisingly, Iruma is compelled to join the student council and work for Amory. While performing student council duties, he is awed by how competent Amory is, particularly when she refuses to allow Sullivan to continue pampering him. He quickly gets the hang of his job and impresses the other members, while Amory contemplates promoting him to a full student council membership. Then, while reading First Love Memories, Amory's teacup cracks, which she interprets as an omen. Her hunch was partially correct when she is led away and kidnapped by an anonymous hooded figure. The council quickly notices her disappearance, and when they find her, she starts behaving abnormally. Soon, the student council members learn that Amory has been possessed by an enchantment that, while keeping her former memories, has transformed her personality into more graceful and ladylike. However, the bad news is that since the spell is quite complicated, breaking it by force would be unwise. An expert teacher reveals that if Amelia continues to follow her typical routine, her former personality should return soon. Despite their dismay at the news, the student council vows to find the culprit. To make matters worse, the members find it impossible to keep up with the task Amory used to do. They also can't stand her new kawaii character. Things take a turn when there is an unexpected entry of Ronov Romier, the charismatic president of the disciplinary battler group, whom the council feels are to blame for Amory's plight. He reveals his plan to take over the student council now that Amory is no longer competent enough to do so. He challenges them to a dissolution election, and whoever loses is forced to resign. When he starts caressing Amory, Iruma slaps his hand away, causing him to withdraw. The next day, Ronov campaigns using his charisma ability and pledges to be more liberal than the present student council. Alacrid reappears, assuring Iruma that the spell is almost broken and only needs a trigger to get fully reversed. Interrupting Alacrid in mid-sentence, Amory appears clothed in her old outfit. Apparently, she had hoped that wearing her old attire would break the spell, but she is now thinking of leaving the council. Iruma dislikes the idea and reminds her of the hard work of her former personality. Meanwhile, Rana vows to make the school a paradise during the election. Amory is reminded of how successful she wanted the school to become as a result of Iruma's encouragement, and she delivers an emotional speech urging the pupils to pursue their own ambitions rather than Ranov's. However, when she catches a glimpse of Iruma in the crowd, the trigger activates, and the spell breaks. It is revealed that the true perpetrator of the spell was Oligoth Shenel, who manufactured a ladylike perfume to make Amory cute in order to please his pervert desires. Once Oligoth is punished, Amory invites Ronov to the council. She also invites Iruma, but he chooses to get his battler group restored and wishes to see Amory at their next reading. In the end, Amory finally decides to pursue her goal of making Iruma hers. Sullivan plans a party and requests that Iruma bring his classmates. As Alucard taunts Iruma about Clara being the first female he invited over, the latter gets more and more anxious. Sullivan attempts and fails horribly to create a good first impression on Iruma's friends. However, he is relieved after the party is over when Iruma thanks him for allowing his friends to come. When Iruma laments over how he still doesn't know anything about the Demon Society, Alucard decides to discreetly help him and magically transform his personality to resemble that of a demon. The next morning, Sullivan is shocked to see that his beloved Iruma has turned harsh, disrespectful, and incredibly nasty. Because of Iruma's new personality, his peers believe he is in his evil cycle, a phase every demon goes through in their teenage years. When Iruma notices that other students are abusing the rights of his misfit classmates, he approaches Caligo, their professor, and insists that they be given a better classroom. Caligo asserts there are no other vacant classrooms. Iruma surprises everyone by demanding the king's royal classroom, where the former demon king was once a student, which remains vacant to honor his memory. Caligo is furious at the notion, but Iruma wagers that he can secure the approval of every professor within 3 days. If successful, Caligo will give in. Misfits declare they couldn't care less about to whom the classroom once belonged to, which Iruma points out is how true demons should be: arrogant, greedy, and wicked, which is exactly why the Misfits deserve the king's classroom the most. The entire class pledges to secure the room after being inspired by him. The latter discloses that he has a strategy to gain the faculty's permission, for which he needs Jazz, the Misfits' renowned thief. Iruma purposefully irritates Caligo to distract him so that Jazz can steal his diary, which they sell for the consent paper from Momonoki, an instructor who has a crush on Caligo. Several other professors exchange their consent for questionable things like students assisting with their research, removing weeds, and perverted information. In order to get Sullivan's consent, Iruma poses for a family portrait. He chooses to seek further consent from Amory and the council, persuading her with an emotional speech about the Misfits' potential and closing the agreement with a wall slap that wins her heart. The Misfits easily obtain all professors' consent in 3 days, with the exception of Caligo's. However, Caligo reveals that Iruma was expected to obtain permission from everyone at Babel's, including the janitors, chefs, and librarians. Unexpectedly, just when Caligo thought he won, they all appear with their consent papers, having chosen to assist Iruma in return for his kindness in the past. Caligo, defeated, offers his consent paper as well. Massive crowds flock to view the classroom as it has been locked for generations, and the Misfits realize they have become celebrities. Caligo ceremoniously opens the doors, showing the classroom to be as lavish as a palace. Unfortunately, Alucard's magic on Iruma ultimately wears off, causing him to feel extremely ashamed. After he apologizes for his evil cycle, everyone takes pictures with Iruma on the throne. Caligo warns the Misfits that summer break is approaching, but if they fail their examinations, they must attend extra lessons instead. Iruma admits to being a lousy learner, therefore, Asmodeus decides to organize a study club, explaining that everyone with a high enough score moves up a rank, but a poor performance reduces rank. This worries Alucard since his intellect is dependent on Iruma's rank, and if Iruma loses rank, Alucard would just become a mindless black flame demon. However, when Asmodeus tests Iruma, he earns a perfect grade on mythical zoology, which is all about human life. Iruma decides to attend an optional class taught by the author of mythical zoology, Balaam Shikairo, who behaves quite strangely. It is revealed that Balaam is fascinated with imaginary creatures, such as humans. When explaining how demons developed wings, Balaam sees Iruma lacks them, until Alucard hurriedly tries to cover for him. Iruma unintentionally reveals he is human, fearing Balaam would devour him, but Balaam is delighted to have proof he isn't crazy and that humans exist. As Iruma returns to class, he finds everyone sad and angry about their studies. However, he knows that however bad his exam may go, his vacations can't be worse than how they were when he was human. Balaam enters and reveals that he and Caligo were classmates many years ago and are still good friends. Seeing the students struggle, he offers them other learning methods such as singing songs and playing games, and even develops instructional picture books for Iruma. The Misfits start helping each other out, and Iruma discovers that studying is no longer a bother. Eventually, the exam day arrives. Caligo informs the Misfits that they all passed their tests, that many of them have moved up a rank, and that Iruma passed but not sufficiently to move up a rank. Amory asks Iruma to come to their manga reading, but he is already out at karaoke, so the girls take Amory to a girls-only party. They insist on discussing relationships, and Clara announces that she has a crush on Iruma and wouldn't mind marrying him, much to Amory's annoyance. Following a lengthy disagreement over Iruma and love, everyone decides to exchange contact information and meet for another tea party. Iruma arrives but is kicked out. Caligo is angered when Sullivan orders him to do home visits for students. The visits go terribly as he duels Goemon's father, guards his wallet against Jazz's brother, and resists marrying Leet's older sister. When he arrives at Iruma's house, it is revealed that Caligo is frightened of Opera, the security demon, who used to be his senior and harassed him for fun. Caligo informs Sullivan that Iruma has pathetic grades and is frequently involved in accidents, but he has gained many valuable friends and has a natural capacity to overcome obstacles. The next day, being the sadistic professor he is, Caligo assigns holiday homework to everyone. During the vacation, the Misfits invite Iruma to Walter Amusement Park. Iruma and the Misfits head to Walter Park, but Sullivan forces Caligo, Balam, and Opera to accompany them as babysitters. Amory also shows up, mistaking it for a date with Iruma alone. The students are divided into 3 groups and Caligo is persuaded to reward the team that has the most fun. But he just insists on giving those in 3rd place extra homework. The girls decide to make Amory try on a cute outfit, while Caligo's squad decides to make him enjoy himself in one way or another. Iruma encounters Ranov, who says Walter Park is owned by his father. He also unintentionally exposes that the park's basement is a jail, where jailed criminals' magic is discreetly absorbed to fuel the park. Kiryu, the Season 1 antagonist, is shown to be in jail and working with a gang of other convicts to escape, with outside support from the infamous Musashino crew, an extreme organization that believes demons should go back to being wicked. Kiryu had agreed to assist the gang in destroying Walter Park in exchange for the inmates' freedom. The opera team enjoys testing on outfits with Walter employees, while the Caligo team participates in a shooting game with other employees. His crew proposes exploring Kuraragi Street but is cautioned that it is a corrupt area where criminals assemble. Iruma gets lost along Kuraragi Street and encounters a lovely lady named Shida. After she vanishes, Iruma learns about Six Fingers, another criminal organization aiming to return to the old demon ways. Eventually, it is revealed that the Walter employees and Shida are Six Fingers who intend to destroy the park and liberate Kiryu. To demolish the park, they summon 3 massive monsters. The creatures begin to completely destroy the park. Caligo urges his crew to battle despite the fact that they have yet to understand attack magic. Six Fingers infiltrates the jail in order to locate Kiryu and open all of the cells in order to keep the guards occupied. Even Triton, the prison's vice chief, gets easily defeated. Despite his nervousness, Jazz, who has the highest rank, is put in command by the others. He attempts and fails to devise an effective strategy. Iruma is furious that his day has been wrecked and begins to feel strange. Many children are trapped beneath the debris, and Iruma realizes that no other demons are ready to rescue them, their innate selfishness stopping them from helping unless it benefits them in some way. Iruma eventually realizes what his peculiar feeling is, rage, an emotion he has never felt before. Iruma runs to assist, despite the fact that it puts him in the path of the dragon monster, motivating his peers to assist as well. Jazz manages to distract the Minotaur monster long enough to get into its ear and use his necklace, the ear-piercer whistle, to rupture its ears. Caligo finally intervenes and gets rid of the monster with a single blow. Amory demonstrates Romantista, a bloodline power for the first time boosts her physical skills the more confidence she has. With more self-belief than ever, she effortlessly destroys the rat monster. Opera, impressed with her skill, offers her to work for Sullivan. Amory is tempted since it would mean living in the same house as Iruma. Meanwhile, Asmodeus prepares to face Dragon and Iruma saves the children. Nevertheless, Asmodeus becomes so anxious about Iruma's safety that he endangers his own life and is saved by Sabnok. Balan constructs a massive wooden dragon and kills the final monster. Six Fingers senses the defeat of the 3 creatures and merges them into the bigger magical beast. Opera, Caligo and Al form, and Balan join forces to destroy Beast. Beast collects its leftover power in order to construct a bomb that will kill everyone in the park. Everyone is stunned as Ranov emerges and uses his charisma skill to get Beast to look at him, directing the bomb away from the park and onto himself. Iruma appears in front of Ranov seconds before he is about to die. Iruma summons Alacrid, who consumes Beast's power and ends its story once and for all. Caligo chastises Iruma for putting himself in danger again but praises him for his achievement. Opera finally understands why Iruma was chosen as Sullivan's grandson. Meanwhile, Six Fingers reach Kiryu and explain that they were dispatched by Lord Ball. Kiryu is overtaken with passion when he learns that Iruma has destroyed Beast and feels they both are indeed fated rivals. In the end, Walter Park still stands as a hindrance to Lord Ball's objectives, as its role is to relax demons in their evil cycles. As a gesture of thanks for preserving his park, Ranov's father places the Misfits in a hotel. Despite the fact that it appears to be a romantic manga scenario, Amory confronts Iruma alone at a party and asks him if they could do something alone one day, to which he agrees and she passes out from excitement. The incident is covered in the news, and Iruma becomes a hero instantly, with reporters and fans crowding the hotel. That's when Clara offers for them to come to her house instead of returning home because it is unsafe to do so. Iruma is taken aback because he has never been asked to a friend's home. As they arrive, they discover Clara's mother and siblings overly excited to greet them. Their house is packed with weird artifacts that Clara's father, a professional explorer, has supposedly sent home. Clara feels ashamed when Iruma sees her baby picture until he comments on how cute she is. It is stated that the family obtains their sustenance from the nearby forest. Clara and Asmodeus strive to acquire the finest ingredients for Iruma, so Clara's mother proposes hunting the tastiest beast in the forest. Clara's brothers are almost eaten by it, but Asmodeus saves them. Eventually, Clara's mother comes and captures it. Later that night, everyone realizes that Clara is actually an expert at singing soothing sleep melodies. Her mother secretly adds more images to her album the next morning, illustrating how far Clara has come. Meanwhile, Amory's father, Henry, takes a flight to Clara's house. Amory organizes a secret meeting with Iruma at Aqua Case, an aquarium and swimming pool, but Iruma is unaware it is a date. Her idea flops repeatedly, mainly due to her height. She has a hard time holding his hand, and on the water slide, she rides behind him. On the date, he buys gifts for everyone, including Clara, making Amory envious and concerned that the date may not be thrilling enough. They go to a fortune-telling event where a water dragon chooses the perfect romantic couple psychically. However, the water has washed away the perfume that masked Iruma's human odor, so the dragon attempts to devour him. Amory quickly comes to his rescue. She is upset since her plan was a complete failure until he finds a wound on her leg. Seeing it as a good opportunity, using his magic, he makes sure that despite the failure of her plans, it was the finest date ever. Lord Sullivan enters Iruma's room and takes him shopping to prepare him for his new semester. He gifts him anti-detection spectacles to keep other shoppers from seeing him since he is now a celebrity. On their trip, Sullivan recalls how Dracula, the now lost Demon King, was much like Iruma. He explains to the latter how the netherworld works. One can only become a Demon King when all 13 crowns give their permission. But it is, obviously, a great responsibility. Sullivan is one of those 13 crowns, and he even says he'd be curious to see Iruma as Demon King. When they reach home, Iruma lies on his bed and reads the Demon King prophecy scroll he bought at the bookstore, which worries him slightly. Later, Alucard pops out and yells at him for causing him to consume all of Beast's power and then ignoring him ever since. Meanwhile, at school, the new semester begins. Caligo reminds the Misfits that unless they all attain 4th rank, they would lose their permission to access the royal classroom. That's the end of Season 2. Will the prophecy come true? Can a human become the Demon King and rule a demon realm? We'll find out what more is in store for Iruma in Season 3.